Welcome to the Book Brothers podcast, the only podcast where two friends discuss books. There's no other podcast like it. So be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube, which, by the way, we're releasing more content. David started a great new series called Buy or Burn or
Buy or
Ban or
Burn,
Burn.
yeah, on our channel, yeah, Buy or Burn. It's really cool. It's a
On
fun
our
little
channel.
short that I did. That I'm glad that you like it, Adrian, because it's modeled after my own channel on Baby Sagan. So I do a lot of fun graphics and fun visuals. So I make it very humorous. So
Yeah. And not only that, but you're also a writer. And tell the
yes.
good folks at home what they can buy if they really want to right now.
Yes, so on Amazon, I got my book Project Red Planet. It's an awesome book. It's hilarious, sci-fi, satire. We talked about here on the channel. I took a long time to write it. It's available to purchase as an ebook or paperback. And I passed out a couple copies, free copies, my author copies, because I have a batch of those. I gave one to a friend, so I got a couple friends reading it right now. I just need reviews on Amazon, so that's my big goal right now.
Think of it this way, folks. If Monty Python, Douglas Adams, and Mel Brooks wrote a book together, you would have Project Red Planet. It's that
I like
kind of
that.
humor.
I
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
that kind of satire.
Yeah.
It's not too in your face satire. I mean, it is very satirical.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you like if that's sort of your vibe, it's a good book to
Oh yeah,
check out.
it's
So,
hilarious. Yeah, it's also very philosophical, so people like deep thoughts. Just like
very
Hitchhiker's Guide,
philosophical.
deep thought. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, it's pretty fun.
So anyway, well, that's a book you can buy. We recently read some books, finished some books for this show to discuss. I recently finished the book called The Vegetarian. Have you heard of this book, David?
Vegetarian. Yeah, you talked to me about it. It sounded pretty interesting. A good premise. Go ahead and dive into what was the vegetarian all about? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
For sure. So The Vegetarian. This is a psychological novel told in three interconnected parts, each from a different character's perspective. It follows Yeong-hye, a seemingly ordinary South Korean woman who one day stops eating meat after a series of disturbing dreams. Her refusal to eat meat upends her marriage, shocks her family, and sets her on a path of physical and mental transformation. As Young-Hai rejects societal and familial expectations, her descent, or liberation, becomes both a haunting metaphor for rebellion and a study in trauma, autonomy, and the violence of conformity. So that's the summary of the novel, and that's a really good summary.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for me, I don't know that I got all that from reading it.
Okay.
Like those themes were certainly present, right? Like
Mhm.
there's definitely sort of an act of defiance and rebellious nature from the main character Young Hai. But oddly enough, I guess my expectations were a lot different than what I ended up reading because I thought it was going to be completely centered around her and her character.
Uh-huh.
But it's told in three parts, as mentioned, and
Mhm.
it's told from the perspective of her husband, her brother-in-law, funny enough,
Okay.
and her sister in the
Okay.
end. And I
But
just
it has her perspective as well, though, right?
no, that's the thing.
Oh, okay.
She's the
Interesting.
focal point of
Oh, okay. I
each
see.
perspective, but she's not. It's not from her
Oh, I see.
POV.
That's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. That's always interesting when the author does that. That kind of reminds me of Great Gatsby when like the Gatsby is kind of like the title of the book, but he's not even a point of view.
yeah.
But,
Here's the thing. It didn't work for me.
okay.
I
That can happen.
I thought it was kind of boring. I
Okay.
thought it dragged a lot, and like the author's kind of beating you over the head with all the metaphors
Mhm.
of the story and the themes. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I get it. She's not eating meat. She's not conforming to society.
Uh-huh.
She doesn't have bodily autonomy, basically. And she doesn't have any agency, by the way, which I think is a part of the theme, right? But
Mhm.
I would have liked to have seen it the whole thing from her perspective, and we didn't really get that.
Uh-huh.
Everybody in her life is terrible except her sister. Her
Okay.
husband is like abusive and weird, and her father, like in the first act of the book, like forces her to eat a chunk of meat. Like he literally slaps her and
Oh,
like
really?
forces a piece of meat
Oh, okay.
down her throat. And like while everybody is literally standing around watching this unfold,
Yeah.
and like she doesn't eat meat, right? She stops eating meat. So she starts to lose a lot of weight and become very emaciated.
Hmm.
And then her creepy brother-in-law, like he's like a photographer. So in the second act, it's about him using her as a model, but
I
it
see.
just ends up with him abusing her.
She's
And
abused
then
on both ends. So she gets abused by her,
yeah,
yeah, by her dad, and then by, what was it, her your boyfriend you
her
said, or
dad, her father, her husband.
husband?
The only person that doesn't actually abuse her is her sister.
Okay.
But she ends up in a hospital and she ends up very emaciated. Like the way she's described in the end is like,
Yeah.
just skin and bones basically.
Yeah.
And like I understood all that. Like the writing, the prose is that like on a technical level, it's really good. Like this author,
Okay.
and I think it's translated from Korean to English. So and the
Okay.
translation is really good,
Oh, I
but
thought it was Chinese. It's Korean.
South Korean, yeah.
No, it's not. Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I just didn't vibe with it.
Hmm.
Thankfully, it was a short book. It was like 200 pages or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't really know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that. Like
Okay.
it just didn't, I don't
So like
know.
would you have preferred like a book that like followed her point of view so you can have like her opinions and views on what's
Her
going
point of
on
view
and how
was the
she
most interesting thing the author touched on
yeah.
because she has these weird dreams and you get like uh, vignettes of that kind of sprinkled
Mhm.
throughout the book.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to know more about her mentality. I want to know more about her pathos that like leads her to do all this, right?
Yeah.
I think that would have just been better. And maybe like that was the point is to not see it from her perspective, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
that kind of like makes like lets the reader make things up in their own mind about what her, views on the world are like, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah.
Her perspective, I guess. But like I said, all the other characters were just terrible and boring, and it just didn't work for me. It
Yeah.
really didn't. I mean, yeah. So a good chunk of the novel is her like there's a huge focus on her growing thinner and more withdrawn from not just from her family, just from like life in general. And the fallout is like her when her father forces her to eat meat.
Hmm.
She takes a kitchen knife and slashes her wrists
Oh wow.
right
Okay.
there. So then they got to take her to the
Oh,
hospital.
I see. Okay. Hmm.
So there's like, content warning for those of you listening. And there's
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah.
attempted of self harm in
Right.
this book.
Hmm.
And then her husband files for divorce,
Okay.
and then she sort of like kind of just goes from there. Her brother.
How does the book kind of end? Like what's kind of like how does this all conclude with like what does she do with after all this abuse that she's taken?
So she ends up in the hospital, and her
Mhm.
sister is trying to convince her to because they put like things in her to like feed her with like I don't know what you call those in the hospital. They
The
put
Ivy?
yeah like an IV drip, but like to
Uh,
give you the proper nutrients and all that. She
okay.
she
Okay.
refuses to do any of that,
Okay.
and her sister like loses her shit.
Uh,
In the end, it's like, please, for the love of all, you need to eat. You need to do
yeah.
this to stay alive. Like at the very
Yeah.
least, let them give you the treatment you need.
Hmm.
And she refuses.
Okay.
Yeong-hye, the main character, refuses to do that.
Mhm.
Why is my voice cracking? I feel like I'm 13 years old again.
It happens sometimes.
Uh,
Second
but
puberty in it.
and the medical staff is not much better, by the way. Like they basically tell the sister, sorry, but she's incurable. Like
Oh,
there's nothing we can
they just don't
do
care.
for her. So they move her to a long-term care facility. And
Oh,
then and the sister joins her in the ambulance while they're transporting her. And she just kind of looks up at the trees and her arms are outstretched. And then it just kind of she kind of like closes her eyes and that's it. And it's left kind of vague, like it kind of
okay. It's
implies that she
ambiguous.
passes, but not
Yeah.
explicitly.
Okay. I see.
So yeah, that's the ending. And
Okay.
I just like I
I
don't
see.
know. I just didn't like any of the characters. Like none of them. The sister is the closest character that I liked, but like
Yeah. Yeah. She
she's
sounds like the
just
most likable because at least she's like fighting for her sister to stay alive or something.
she's fighting for her sister, but like I don't know that she fought hard enough. And
Yeah.
nobody else seems to be in her sister's, in her corner,
Okay.
trying to fight for her. So I was just like,
Interesting.
wow, this is like deeply
Seems like
depressing.
yeah, it seems like a weird like I mean I like the fact that it's kind of ambiguous, but yeah, the fact that it seems like she's leaning towards that like she just die probably because she's getting weaker and weaker. That's what it sounds like, and she left it kind of ambiguous, but it sounds like she probably did die. But that seems kind of like a weak main character to have. I mean, I didn't read it, so I'd have to read it myself to get a full feel for it. But it seems like a very weak main character where she just sustains all this abuse and then she doesn't like put her foot down, doesn't like stand up for herself almost. Like, did you get a sense that she ever stood up for herself?
No, never, not once.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
just like,
well, that's not true. Let me backtrack. She stands up for herself in the very beginning when she's like, "No, I'm not
uh,
going to eat meat. I'm not going to do it."
yeah.
And we know right before the father forces her to
Yeah.
eat meat.
Uh,
So she does stand up for herself
a
in the
little bit.
very beginning,
Yeah.
like literally within the first 30 pages or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, it's she becomes very much a passive main character
Okay.
in
Yeah.
which we see her through the eyes of everybody else.
Okay. Hmm.
And yeah, I think the worst, not the worst part, but the most disturbing part, the yuckiest part of the story, if you will, is her brother-in-law, who's like this photographer slash video
Yeah.
artist,
Uh-huh.
and he becomes obsessed with her body. And she has something on her body, on her back, called the Mongolian birthmark. Do you know what this is? Have you heard of
Not,
this?
not
I
sure.
never heard of it either, but a Mongolian birthmark. I had to Google it, and I'll Google it right now. It's
Okay.
just to tell you. It's known as a Mongolian spot or a congenital dermal
Okay.
something. I can't read that word. A type of birthmark characterized by a flat blue-gray or blue-green patch on the skin. These birthmarks are caused by these pigment producing cells that are present in the deeper layers of the skin rather than the surface. They're most commonly found on the lower back and buttocks, but can appear in other areas as well.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what it is. I never heard of it.
I think I might have researched that one time a long like that briefly that brings up something that I think I did hear about that before, like a specific kind of birthmark, but
Yeah.
yeah, this is
According to
yeah.
Google, they're more prevalent in like Asian and African and Native American
Okay.
people. And but
He's
yeah,
like obsessed with her.
he becomes obsessed with her. It's very, very creepy. It's very predatory. He doesn't sexually assault her, but
Mhm.
he does like use he does take advantage of her weakness and her vulnerability to,
Okay.
do things with her.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, essentially without her consent. So I guess it is SA in that
Yeah.
sense. And I'm saying
Yeah.
SA, by the way, because I know the internet age these days with the filters and all that. So
Yeah.
if you don't know what it is, look it up and you'll know what it is. If you know, you know, right? But yeah, no. So I just thought like that was the ickiest part of the whole book. And
Yeah.
the whole time I'm reading this and I'm just like, what am I supposed to ascertain
This-
from this? You know, like
Yeah.
what is the point of all this?
Right.
And I kept expecting something to happen, like something big, like maybe she like, I don't know, she will finally stand up for herself and say no more or
Hmm.
something, or maybe she runs away, or maybe she does other, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that never came. So
Okay.
there was never that sort of release of like, oh,
Yeah.
you're
It
holding
seems
your
pretty
breath.
disappointing, yeah. Because we just talked about a parable of the sower not too long ago, and like Lauren is like a super she's pretty much a go-getter for the most part. I mean she's really struggles with her hyper empathy, but she still does things and she still takes actions.
Oh yeah,
She's
this
the main
character wasn't like
character,
that.
but like this character just seems like she just takes all the abuse and is like, oh no, I'm just gonna wilt away or something.
Yeah.
Like she should have left her family or something, or get her sister's help to like leave, and I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting way to use the vegetarianism as like a vehicle for all those
Yeah,
themes and stuff.
yeah.
But it didn't quite do it for me, and that's pretty much all I have on that. I mean, like I said,
Okay.
it's a good. There's definitely some good themes about bodily autonomy versus societal control.
Yeah.
Domestic violence, violence in general towards women. Female agency, nature, nurture versus nurture type of stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But and that's all fine and well, but I think, obviously execution matters, and I just don't think
Yeah.
for me, it just didn't work. So
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
the vegetarian.
Sounds like
If
an
anybody,
interesting premise and interesting ideas, but I don't like the feeling of the lack of control from the main character or the lack of agency, where she seems kind of weak.
yeah,
I mean, I had some of that in my book with Project Red Planet, but I mean, mine's a comedy satire, and he does have agency at the end, so a
Yeah,
little bit. So,
different
but
different vibes.
yeah. I might have to check that out though, because I know you talked about it, but it sounds like it's well written, just not what you had wanted exactly.
It's so funny how many well-written books I've read that just weren't good.
Yeah, that can
Like
happen.
yeah, you'll read something, you're like, oh, this author knows how to write. Unfortunately,
Right.
the story is not great.
Yeah. Maybe the author, like you should look at like if that author has written like those kind of perspectives before where they have a main character, but then like instead they have other characters' perspectives, because maybe that's just like a technique that that author likes to do. I don't know.
Yeah, Han Kang is the name of the author, and
Han Kang. Okay.
I've never heard of her before this book, but she's been writing since, well, she's writing for a long time. Not anything I've ever heard of before, if I'm being honest with you.
Mhm.
She's mostly done, well, she's a Korean writer, so she's written Korean novels. I don't
Yeah.
know how this one came into the mainstream as far as it becoming published for, English speaking
Yeah.
audiences, but I guess it's kind of a breakout, transformative book. But
Okay.
yeah, that's The Vegetarian.
Interesting. Okay.
It's actually not that recent, 2007. So it's been around for. I think it recently became published for the U.S. and more recently than that. But
Gotcha.
yeah, so yeah, that's The Vegetarian. That's what I thought about it. I will definitely. By the way, I'm on Storygraph. For those of you that don't know, Storygraph is like a better version of Goodreads. So I'm on Storygraph. If I don't know if you're on there yet. I think you are, right, David? I don't know if
I
I
think
feel like we've talked about it
I might
before.
have to dive into that. Yeah, I'll have to double check.
Yeah, check out Storygraph. It's like I said, it's a way
Yeah.
better version. Bless you. It's a way better version of Goodreads.
Okay.
Follow me on there. You'll see what I'm currently reading, what I've
Yep.
read. My goal is to hit 48 books this year, and I'm at 20,
Oh
21.
wow.
So
You have
yeah,
a number in mind? I
I
don't worry
mean,
about my numbers. I don't worry about that.
I do, I do. I want to. My goal specifically this year was do 48 books, which I think
Okay.
translates to 2 books per month,
Okay.
and I'm already way ahead of that. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Now let's pivot here a little bit. Let's talk about the book you read recently, which I believe
Yes.
you showed me the cover of. It looked really
Yeah,
interesting. What was
here's
that
the
book about?
cover. It's not too blurry. Here's this book. Really cool
Helgoland?
cover. Called, yeah, Helgoland.
Helgoland, not
Helgoland.
Helgoland.
Making Sense of the Quantum Revolution by Carlo Rovelli.
I like that cover.
Yeah, it's a really cool cover actually. It's pretty cool. It's like all the different like little ripples. It's like a water, like a pond or something, all the
It's
ripples.
very sciency.
Yes.
What
So it's
what made you
all,
want
yeah.
to pick this book up?
So this book, yeah, I just saw this at a bookstore. I was like, I gotta pick this book up because I was diving into it. As it says, called Helgoland. It written by Carlo Rovelli. He's a theoretical physicist. I had actually heard his name in a couple other books. He's a physicist, still alive today. He's Italian. Um, but I heard his name before in like physics circles, and I was like, I gotta pick up this book, see what this is about. And actually read another small book of his before. But this is really interesting. This is about, as we know, this is about, as you can guess, it's about the quantum revolution, quantum mechanics. So he basically tries to come up with, I would say he tries to gain a bigger understanding of quantum mechanics, but in a very simple way. So like anyone could understand it. There's not a lot of math in here. So he's not going to complicate things with like a ton of math. There's only like a couple equations, and he just gives you like an intuitive understanding of the equations. But he's trying to, I really liked his ideas because he's basically taking us from the beginning of quantum mechanics, when it would first began in the 1920s. Really it began with like Einstein, because Einstein was in the early 1900s, and Einstein inadvertently brought us into quantum mechanics, and he famously didn't like quantum mechanics like later on, when he was like talking with Niels Bohr and everything. He famously was like, "Oh, I'm not big on this stuff, but if this is where it's going, this is where it's going." But yeah, but in Helgoland, Ravelli also talks about like all the scientists that worked on quantum mechanics in the 1920s. That would be Heisenberg was the main one that he talks about, and then Niels Bohr. And there's other scientists like Paul Dirac and Schrodinger, which you may have heard of Schrodinger's cat.
I've
So
heard of Heisenberg, I've heard of
yeah,
Niels Bohr, and of course I've heard of Schrodinger's
yes,
cat.
Schrodinger's
That's
cat, very
the
famous. So he
famous
talks about all these
Schrodinger's
guys.
cat.
Yes, so that's about all those guys. A couple other scientists. Wolfgang Pauli is another one. And
That's a
then there's
cool name.
another. Yeah, Wolfgang Pauli. Pretty
Wolfgang.
cool name. Yeah, pretty cool.
Wolfgang Cardoso. That'd be a bad.
Yeah, that's an interesting name. Yeah.
If you ever have a kid, call him Wolfgang.
Okay. Okay. I'll note that. Probably not, but I'll put it. Unlikely, but yeah. So he just talks about the beginning of quantum mechanics. So he begins the book. The reason it's called Helgoland, I'll go over that. So he talks mostly about Heisenberg because Werner Heisenberg, this German dude, he was talking with let's see, was it? Oh, it was he talked a little bit with Max Born, and there was another. I think it was Max Born. He's another physicist, and he was kind of like he was working with other physicists at the time, and he was onto something because he saw like in the quantum world, because we had Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr gave like the idea of the atom, but Heisenberg had this idea that something was off with the quantum world, and he realized that classical physics, because we think of classical physics in terms of like everything is continuous and predictable, and you can like measure everything. Well, they were finding out, like Heisenberg realized, like you can't really measure it precisely anymore. Like there's a probability involved, and nothing is 100% precise. And so he realized that we have to fundamentally think about quantum physics very differently. And so his big insight into quantum physics basically was that everything is kind of uncertain, but also you can only worry about what's observable. So that was his big, that's what Carlo Rovelli talks about in the book, is basically Heisenberg came to the conclusion that like, oh, I can only worry about what I observe. That's all that matters. So even if this observation is a little off and a little weird, I'm just going to use that and take that to my conclusions.
I like that philosophy that you could apply that to real life,
You kind of
right?
can.
Easily.
Yeah.
I only worry about what I can observe. I can't worry about what I
Right.
can't
Right.
observe.
Which is kind of good because like you can only observe because quantum mechanics gets really weird and strange, but he focused on like, well, what can we observe as people?
Does it mention the two slit test or whatever it is?
He talks about that. Yeah, the double
Double
slit
slit.
test is pretty interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that was Heisenberg's big takeaway, and he had like a big like data, a bunch of different like it's called like a matrix or whatever, like when you have a bunch of different data points and everything. But Heisenberg did that, and he had a research paper and everything, and I believe he won a Nobel Prize too for his some of his discoveries and stuff like that. But anyway, it's called Helgoland because Heisenberg came up with this theory on an island called Helgoland. That's the name of this island. So that's why it's called Helgoland. So it's named kind of after. It was really cool. It was like I had this idea of like this wise scientific mind out there. I guess he was on Helgoland for like a month or two or something like that, and he was like there by himself, and he was just like in deep contemplation, thinking about like the universe and physics and everything. So that was kind of cool. Anyway, so that was his main insight was like only worry about what's observable. And Ravelli goes on to say there's other things that we should worry about as well. So in quantum physics, you should only worry about what's observable, and you should also only worry about what is probable. So like, it's probabilistic. It's not exactly 100% predictable. And also in the old world of physics, like with Newton and everything, we thought we wanted to measure everything. But this time he says in quantum physics, nothing is like smooth. Like we think of the world as like smooth, but actually he calls it like granular because everything is made of atoms, and in between the atoms is nothing. And so it's called granularity, as he calls it. So it's almost like everything is made of tiny little grains, and in between that is another grain.
Yeah.
So it's like we're all little nodes. Like right now, you, Adrian, are a node. You're like
Yeah.
a piece of existence, and I'm a piece of existence. And in between us is this conversation. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like you're only interacting with things. It's all interaction. So that
Yeah.
was a big takeaway. That's like both in the atomic world and in our world, there could be some of that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
I like the idea of phasing where like
Yeah.
there's a probability of
Right.
like if I try to stick my
Yeah. Yeah.
finger through this
Yeah.
mug,
It could go
there's a
through.
chance that I could phase right through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the guy, the superhero, the Flash? where he
Does the
sees the
Flash do that, or does he
phasing.
phase through?
Oh yeah,
He goes so fast.
that was
Oh,
in the
okay.
Flash movie. He phases through
I
a
was
wall.
thinking, I was thinking of Nightcrawler, like with his teleport. Like Nightcrawler
Does
could
he
jump
mention
around.
that, or is that you just happen to know about
He does
phasing?
not mention Nightcrawler, but I
Yeah.
just threw that out there. But he does mention that is kind of called quantum leaping. So he mentions that a little bit too. How that's called a quanta, like when the quantum, like when an atom jumps around, like in an atom, like an electron can jump around different orbits. But
Right.
when it does so, it doesn't exist at all in between. It can only exist here or here.
Is that superposition? Because I was just reading about some notes on it. He
Um,
talks about superposition, entanglement, measurement problems, and non-locality. Did you get a
yeah.
good
So
grasp of what any of that
yeah,
meant
yeah.
reading
So I can
this?
talk a little bit about that. Yeah. So superposition. So talking about what's observable. So this comes back to Schrodinger and his cat. So this comes back to the cat. So like if we're not, so if you're looking at an atom, we're gonna take the atomic world, we're gonna make it big. So we're gonna pretend our cat is like an atom or something. So in the atomic world, you have a cat who is alive or dead. Most physicists, including Rovelli, they change it to make the cat alive or asleep because they're cat fans, and so am I. So I'm going to make it alive or asleep in this case.
Right.
So you have a contraption in a box, and the cat, if it's closed off and you don't see it, you don't know if the cat is alive or dead. If there's like a poison or something, or we'll say asleep. So like if the cat is awake or he's just sleeping. So in our case, if he's closed off and we can't see it, the math in the quantum world says that we have to take it as it's both at the same time. The math makes more sense when you say it's both. However, then we know it only when we observe it. When you observe it, you say, oh, the cat's awake. Then you would see that now I 100% see that the cat is awake. And on that equation, the mathematics, it's just a probability. So now we know 100% probability it's now awake. But before that, it was 50-50. And that's true in the atomic world. Like you don't know it until you observe it. And that's why Heisenberg went back to observables. Did you have a question, Adrian, before I
Well,
continue?
I just wanted to ask that that's only an analogy, right? Because if you lock a cat in an actual box, it'll eventually die, whether or not you observe it. Lack of
Yeah, yeah,
oxygen, lack of
right.
water, lack of food, like
They that test they had like this contraption with food, and like if he eats the food, then it like unlocks like this gas, and he would die. So like that's just a specific test. But in our example, we'll just say like awake or asleep, because the cat could be sleeping. Um,
gotcha.
yeah. But anyway, so that's what superposition. So you're basically saying like, oh, is this atom or is this cat in this state or this state? We don't know it until we observe it. Once you observe it, it now becomes 100% probable that it's here. But what Heisenberg said was, what was interesting, Ravelli talks about this in Helgoland, which is really cool. Superposition, he said, the problem with superposition is it's not really that the cat is actually alive or asleep at both times. Obviously not. That's probably not the case. What he's saying is that you only worry about what's observable. So superposition could be this false idea that we have in the quantum world that it's only mathematically viable because it's a probability and it works and it's so small that we can't really see what's going on. That it works on a probability scale, but in reality, it probably is one or the other, but we just can't see it.
That's
Um,
very interesting.
yeah.
I was just looking at the notes here.
Uh,
There's a mention of the many worlds. What is that
yes.
about? I'd love to sink my teeth into that. What is that
Okay.
about?
Yeah. Many worlds. Yeah. I'll talk. Yeah. I was going to get to all these topics. So here we go.
This is the
Yeah.
sci-fi writer in me
Yeah. It's pretty
wanting to
good.
know
Yeah. This
about all
is
this
great.
stuff.
This is great material to use too. So yeah, many worlds
We're
is
gonna
this
write a book
idea.
about this.
Maybe. I don't
Go
know.
ahead. Go ahead.
You could. Yeah. Many worlds is this idea that basically it's very similar to superposition, but the concept being that when you have when you the math gets so complicated and stuff like that that they start interpreting, oh, it must be a many worlds thing because what happens is when this atom goes off in this direction, the probability, this comes back to like waves because Schrodinger used a wave equation. But so like let's say the atom does like this thing and it goes off like in this direction. So now it's on this wave here. It's on this point on the wave. Well, on that same wave, the if it was over here, it would be off in another direction. And if it was over here, it'd be in another direction. But we measured it, it was more around here. However, because the math says it's a wave, theoretically, it could have bounced off in every single direction. We just can't observe it. So we only observe the one point that it went.
So
So That's their idea
That's
that there are
yeah.
many different versions of yourself and myself doing different
I was
things
just gonna say
because it's only a probability. Like right now we're talking about this book, but maybe there's a probability that in another universe we're not. That maybe the meeting got canceled or
there
something.
could be in
The
another
podcast got
universe
canceled.
a podcast called the Brook Brothers podcast where we just
Yes,
talk about selling
slightly different.
suits.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah, yeah,
still you and
yeah.
me. We're
Whatever.
just selling suits and
Yeah,
talking about
or
suits and menswear instead of books.
yeah, or Beer Brothers or
Or be
something.
yeah, exactly.
Talk about your
Um,
pockets or something. So
but
it's kind of like that idea.
here's
So
what I want to know. I love the idea. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong.
it's a fun
But
idea.
how does it work in reality? Like, how hypothetically, is there a hypothetical way to like observe an alternate timeline of the
Yeah,
current
so that's
reality?
that's the problem that Rovelli talks about in the book is like it's not observable. So going back to Heisenberg's principle,
Oh,
he basically says like that the hidden worlds and superposition are only probabilities and they work in math, but it's only a tool to measure, but we're not observing that. And so since we're not observing these hidden worlds, he proposes that it's probably only a mathematical tool and it's not real. That's what he says.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
What I want to
So
know is how come that sort of stuff works in math but not in
right,
reality?
because honestly, he doesn't know now. He doesn't know for sure. He's only theorizing here. So, but that's his take on it. Is like we have superposition, we have hidden worlds, we have all these other weird ideas, but it's not observable. So he goes back to Heisenberg's idea to like what's observable. Because in string theory, this goes back to he talks a little bit about string theory. If everything is made of strings, like inside an atom, if you go to like the quarks and the protons, they're all made of these little vibrating strings. Then that theory works better with hidden worlds and with superposition. That theory works mathematically a little bit better. But we still don't know if there are strings or not. It's only a theory at this point,
I've always liked the idea of string theory because I've
Yeah,
heard that it kind of bridges the gap between what we know and what we don't know, right? As far as
right,
the
right.
laws of physics and stuff, and
Yeah,
then the unknown parts of like reality that we
yeah,
can't quite understand. That
yeah.
string theory kind of explains
Mhm,
the blind
mhm.
spots we have, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, so string theory is promising, and there's also another thing called called quantum loop gravity, which is another theory that's like very similar to string theory. It's
Okay, now you're
very
gonna have to
complicated.
explain
Yeah,
this
yeah.
because
Don't worry about that one.
I should almost read this book, man. Is
Yeah, it's
it?
pretty interesting. It's only 200 pages. It's really short, actually. And
Yeah.
by the way, like he does this all with, like I said, without a lot of math. I mean, it's all story based. It's all like history of science, philosophy. It's really good. Um, but yeah, so like string theory and quantum loop gravity, they kind of like they have a lot of complex math, and their math seems to indicate that there could be these hidden worlds, that they could be these things. But Ravelli says like there's probably even if they're accurate to some degree, there we need to focus on observables, And if we can't observe hidden worlds, if we can't observe superposition, we should take it as like an interesting mathematical tool, but that's it. We shouldn't look more beyond it. So I thought that was interesting.
What did you think about the philosophical aspects of the book? I'm seeing here that he talks about Buddhism and
Yeah.
the self
Yeah, he
and
does.
how it relates to quantum physics in a way.
Yeah.
What did
So
you make of all that?
he gets on that towards the end.
Are
There's
you a
this
religious person?
am I religious? No. How dare you ask me that question? I'm philosophical though, but
Well, that's why I'm curious to
I thought I
know.
already told you, like I'm not agnostic, atheist, one
Well,
of
I
those.
know, but the audience doesn't always
Oh,
know.
okay,
So,
okay.
but that's why I'm curious. What did you, from your perspective, what did you make of that connection between
Well,
philosophy and
Buddhism,
quantum
I
physics?
kind of vibe with Buddhism for the most part. Like Buddhism is, it's more chill. It's more of philosophy, I would view it as.
I agree. Yeah,
So it's
I
not
agree
too.
wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I mean, there's some dark stuff in Buddhism, but life is full of some dark things too. But
Boy, is it ever.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, he has this ancient philosopher from India. His name starts with an N. I forget how you say his name. I don't know if you can pull up his name, Adrian. I have like the Naga, it's Naga something. I'm
I
just gonna
actually don't
real
see it
quick.
in the Spark Notes here.
Okay. Wait,
But go on though.
yeah. Oh, it's not Nagarjuna is his name.
Oh,
Nagarjuna.
okay.
So yeah, he has some philosophy. He was like in the second century BC, and he just talked about nothingness, like emptiness, how everything is empty without like meaning or like because you can know everything in the whole world, but there's still this void that exists within everyone and in between everything. And so like there's some ideas that the emptiness with it, because we're talking about atoms, how like there's a lot of emptiness within atoms and
Yeah.
like and so like physicists are discovering that too is like so they're even questioning is anything real or is everything remotely like mostly empty space? So it's kind of
Right.
like that idea. So he
That's
talks about
interesting.
that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting.
In a
The
way,
other-
reality is almost subjective.
Kind of purely, it's pretty crazy.
I mean,
Um,
actually, I think it is subjective, right?
To
I
some
mean,
extent, yeah. I think there's definitely a lot of relative truths in reality for sure.
mm.
I don't know if there's like one absolute truth or not.
Well,
But
speaking
also,
of absolutes, go ahead and yeah, go ahead.
okay.
Talk about
Um,
that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's some more philosophy in here, but he talks about a couple other philosophers named Bogdanov, which he was like a Russian guy following the Lenin Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. Bogdanov talked a lot about relationships of things between each other, how there's no like pure form to things. I'm talking about that Indian philosopher as well. It's like there's no pure form to things. Things only exist in between the relations between one another. So Bogdanov talked about that, and he really likes his philosophy a lot. But then he also talked about another philosopher, which this might be some other books that I have to bring up on our podcast here because these books sound fascinating. We should read these. But another philosopher of science was named Ernst Mach. And I guess Mach, he really influenced Einstein when Einstein was doing his relativity theories. And so this Ernst Mach guy came up with ideas of relationships and how everything is like fluid and moving, and there's not much between the substances. And that gave that idea for Einstein of like relativity, how everything is like gravity is like bending and warping, and like everything interacts with everything else. And that's kind of why he ties into quantum revolution as well, is like how everything in the quantum world, there's interactions between all these different parts. Like right now, as I'm talking to you, Adrian, your neurons are firing, the sun is shining, and I have my cats over here. Now, all these things are slowly, subtly interacting with each other, and there's like a million different things, going
That
on right
that
now.
that kind of makes me think about chaos theory, you know?
There's a little bit of that going on, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a butterfly flaps its wings on one part of
Right.
the earth and through
Yes.
the chain of
Right.
events that causes rain to happen on the other side of the planet
Yes.
or
It
something.
basically goes into the deep
Can that
interconnection.
happen at the quantum level and the like the celestial level? Like,
Yeah, well, that's really what the scientists are trying to figure out. Like, is this going on our level, or is there a bridge at which it stops? Like we don't know yet. He seems to indicate that it probably does continue, but we don't know yet. We're not sure.
that's what
Pretty
I like
interesting though. But
about science is that
yeah,
we don't have all the answers.
yeah,
We can't pretend to know all the answers because that's just not the way it works, right?
yeah, yeah.
We know some things for sure, and we
Hmm.
can theorize and make some educated guesses, but at the end of the day, that's the best we can do sometimes when it comes to
Yeah,
like we don't even fully comprehend how gravity works, by the way. Like that's one like even something like that. Like we know that it's like one of the laws of physics and
yeah.
whatnot, or
Fundamental forces. Yeah.
fundamental forces, but we can't even completely like understand the actual
Well,
mechanics of
especially,
why it
yeah,
works.
we have a pretty decent one on the big scale, but on the small scale, again, with quantum, the quantum world and gravity don't
Right,
work. Like
right.
there's a
Yeah, yeah,
mismatch. There's a mismatch.
yeah.
Cool.
Isn't that kind of where string theory comes in? Doesn't it fill that gap a little bit?
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
There
it
you
helps with
go.
that.
See,
So it could be string theory. I
I
mean,
pay
it's
attention. I make the
yeah, yeah,
connection
yeah.
right here.
Mathematics is working on that. Yeah, I
That's
mean,
my weakest subject too. So
okay, yeah,
at
there you
least
go.
I read enough sci-fi to have heard about
Yeah, to help with that.
a lot
Last
of these
point,
things.
yeah, yeah. Last point on Helgoland, which I really like, was yeah, his main argument was that he added the point that the quantum world is a world of relationships and interactions. And so that was his takeaway is that he's arguing that the deepest physics that we know of in the world, it's all about interactions and relationships. And he even argued, he actually talked about a scientist that was doing some experiment in a lab. And he was like, we have to go beyond the lab. We have to go to every interaction, every human being, kind of like what I was talking about with interactions. Everything is interacting with everything. And he said that is like the new science that we're saying, like everything is relative, everything is like interacting. There's always relationships going on, all these things that we can't control that are out there. That was pretty interesting. So I really like that book for that reason. Oh yeah, last point he did say if his theory is true, he has some like crazy ideas. He's like, well, if it is just relationships and it is just interaction and there's all emptiness all around us, then he said like facts don't actually exist. He said there's no objective facts anymore. He said that everything is relative.
I was
That's,
reading about that a little bit.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty
Just in the
interesting.
Spark Notes I found
Yeah, yeah,
that there's no absolute facts, only
mhm,
interactions.
yeah.
Time, space, and identity are contextual and
Mhm.
emergent. What does that mean? And emergent.
Emergent means it's not fundamental. It comes out of something else. So
Oh, okay.
kind of like people would argue our consciousness, like our awareness, like was the universe aware? No, we came out of that awareness. We came into awareness. So that would be emergent, you know.
Well,
Maybe.
that's a perfect example of something we can't even. It's not even really tangible. Is our
Mhm.
consciousness, right?
Yeah,
Our
yeah,
sapience. Like, how does
yeah.
that
Yeah, like atoms
work?
would be
What is that?
foundational. Like atoms
Yeah.
would be foundational, but then like consciousness would be emergent. It comes out of atoms.
Isn't
So
that why they say like we are the universe observing itself?
sort of, yeah. Pretty crazy, but pretty interesting. It's like we're a way for the universe to know itself, which could be possible.
But that's assuming there aren't other sapient beings out there
Right,
doing the
right.
same
Yeah,
thing.
because if there are other aliens, that's always a question that bugs me too, or it fascinates me. Is like if there are other aliens, would they be subjective like us? Like how would they perceive themselves? Like,
Right.
would they
That's what I'm
they
saying.
might have a completely different conscious experience. Maybe.
Yeah, and
Crazy.
that's one of those questions that
Crazy.
we'll probably never know the answer to.
Probably
And
not,
it's that always bums me out because
I know.
I don't know that we'll ever become the spacefaring species that I would hope us to become
I
someday,
know.
where
Maybe.
we're inhabiting other galaxies, you
Yeah.
know, not even other galaxies. We'll stay in the Milky Way,
Just
sure,
our
but
planet.
other solar systems with,
Yeah. I mean, we need to
habitable
explore
planets.
we need to explore our own solar system. I mean, we started at the moon and we just stopped. And we're just like, screw this. That's what it feels like. It's like, this is too much money, too much time.
I
Like,
guess that's why we're writers, right? We can just make up these
yeah,
worlds
right,
and
for sure. You can live
go
your
on all the
imagination.
adventures we want.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But
Well,
anyway,
awesome.
that's Helgoland. That's
I
really,
kind of
really
want to
good.
read it now,
Yeah,
David.
it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah,
I highly, highly suggest it. So really good. Good stuff.
nice, nice. Well, thank
Carlo
you for
Rovelli,
that.
Helgoland. Yep. Good stuff.
I'm gonna have to check that out on Libby and
Mhm.
see if it's available.
Oh yeah, and I'll talk about maybe at the end. There's like a book suggestion here that I wanted to mention. We can talk about it after too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, if you want to go on to
So,
your next book, Adrian, what's your next book that
and
you
I'll
got?
make this pretty quick. This is a book
Okay.
I read called Severance, not related to the TV show,
Okay.
written by Ling Ma. Severance is a genre-bending novel that blends dystopian fiction, millennial satire, and immigrant narrative. The story follows Candice Chan, a millennial working in New York City for a Bible production company,
Oh
who
wow.
survives a pandemic known as Shen fever, a fungal
Okay.
infection that causes people to mindlessly repeat routine tasks until they die. That
Mm.
sounds vaguely familiar to me. Told in a non-linear structure, the novel alternates between Candace's past life, the slow collapse of society, and her uncertain future traveling with a group of survivors led by a cult-like figure named Bob. The novel is part plague story, part office novel, and part meditation on capitalism, memory, and alienation. So, when I picked this up on Libby, I thought, oh, this is well within my wheelhouse. I could
Yeah,
really
sounds
sink my
interesting.
teeth into this. And
Mm.
it would have been if not for the snarky millennial voice that this author puts on for this entire story. It
Okay.
completely turned me off to everything.
All right.
I'm like, she's so snarky and self-aware, and it's like I get it, but the whole
Uh,
book is like this. And here's the other thing too. There's some great ideas here that I would have loved to have read back in 2020. Reading it
Back in the
now
pandemic.
and 2025,
Yeah.
post-pandemic, all these years later, I say all these years later, I mean, it's almost half a decade later. It's like, yeah, this hits too close to home in a way that like I don't really care to hear. Unlike Parable of the Sower, which I feel like has all these big ideas that are super relatable and hit close
Yeah.
to home, this book does it does it in such a snarky way that it turned me off to the whole thing.
Okay.
And here's the thing. There is a lot of stuff in here I agree about, as far as her sort of view on things and how people
Mhm.
react when there is like a pandemic, and the sort of nonchalance that people will have when they're faced with like the reality of like, well, people are dying. This thing is
Mhm.
spreading.
Yeah.
It's causing all this disruption, obviously. And it's just like, who cares? And I couldn't even tell you how she joins this weird cult. Like, there's a part in the novel where they go to an abandoned mall and they're gonna live there. And
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, this is right out of a zombie horror story, you know?
Hmm.
And she's pregnant, apparently,
Okay.
and they decide to lock her up in one of the abandoned stores because
Okay.
the cult leader just doesn't want anybody to leave. And
All
this
right.
like almost bears no consequences after that. Like she just kind of shuffles around a little bit. Eventually,
Hmm.
she gets out, and then that's pretty much the story. I mean,
Hmm.
all of it,
So she
all of
gets
it
out of the
is,
cult at the end.
yeah. She kind of like goes back home, and they never, the book ends before she gives birth, and again, just like the last book, it ends on this vague note of like, well, did she end up getting shin fever and giving
Yeah.
birth, or did she not get shin fever, but
Hmm.
did she, like, but she never gives birth at the end. The author really leaves it in that sort of vague,
Yeah.
unknown. My notes here: Candace drives away from the facility, pregnant and alone, unsure of her next destination. The novel ends with a sense of quiet ambiguity. Candace has escaped control, but her future is uncertain. Well, of course, her future is uncertain when there's a pandemic going around. And you went from New York City to the Midwest to living with a cult, and now
Yeah.
now you don't know where you're going to go. So there's a lot of themes about late capitalism and late stage capitalism and work culture, which is the
Okay.
kind of stuff that we talk about all the time on
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
show with some of
We're
the
kind of
other
living
books we've
through it
read.
right now, probably. Yeah.
Exactly. And then there's
Yeah.
like there's like themes of repetition, routine, immigrant displacement, identity and memory, survival versus living. All that is good stuff. But again, the way that the character, because it's a first person POV book, right? So we actually get the whole story
It's
from
her
her perspective.
perspective. Okay.
And she's just like very snarky about it. And I'm just like, oh, like, is that
Just
is
for
that how we're
fun.
seen as a generation? Are we
Yes.
just the snarky generation? I guess we have reason
A
to be,
lot of
right?
people are, but some,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, for sure. We got some gripes for sure. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, because like we were promised a lot when we were growing up, and then 9/11 happened, and then it's just been a kind of a downhill slide from there.
Yeah.
Even during the Obama years, believe it or not. So
Yeah.
anyway, not to get political, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I won't really get too much else into it because this was also kind of a short book. It was also like 200 pages, I believe.
What was the title again? Sorry, what was that?
Severance.
Severance. Okay, Severance. And who's the
Yeah.
author?
Ling Ma is the name of
Ling
the
Ma.
author.
Okay.
And yeah, the first half of the book is kind of interesting because it's really just like it's pre outbreak, whatever,
Yeah.
pre pandemic.
Pre-COVID.
And this was written before COVID, mind you. So this isn't
Okay.
this came out, well, I don't know what year it came out, but I know it came out before COVID. So that's why it would have been interesting to read this at the time.
Yeah.
Although
It could
maybe at the
have.
time it would have hit a little too close to home, who knows, as
Yeah.
well. But the first half of the book is her getting this job with this publisher that they just publish like really fancy, like bespoke Bibles. So like it's kind of like follows her as she like travels to China to like basically act as a buyer and decide like what materials to buy to make these books
Mhm.
out of and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And I
Okay.
was like, okay, okay, where are we going? Oh, there's
Yeah.
still 6 hours left. Wow, out of this 8 hour audiobook. Let's see what else happens.
Okay.
And then she goes through the motions of everything, and it's just like it's just told in a way that just wasn't captivating at all.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I uh I appreciate the themes of the book, but I just didn't
Mhm.
appreciate the execution. And I know that sounds kind of
At
snarky
least it was
myself.
at least it was given from the point of view of the main character, I guess, on this one.
Yeah. The main
Even if she's
character was
annoying.
just really insufferable.
Yeah, yeah, that's the problem. Just like if you have a main character, don't make her insufferable, Don't make her
Yeah.
annoying.
It kind of makes me think like,
Don't
is
make her
this,
a millennial.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Does this make people, is this how people see people our age? Do they see us as this snarky
Maybe.
cohort?
Do you know
Cohort?
do you know do you know how old the author is by any chance?
I honestly don't. I could
Is she a
look it up,
millennial?
but
He or she a millennial?
she must be around our age group.
Probably.
Um,
It was about COVID, probably. Like the main
well,
character's young.
yeah, like I said, this was a pre-COVID story. She's 42 years old, so yeah,
Okay.
she's a slightly older millennial.
Yeah.
Born and raised, and she's born and raised in China. Uh, and then Severance is like her
Chinese.
breakout novel. Severance came out in 2018, and
Okay.
she wrote another book after that called Bliss Montage in 2022. So yeah, this book came out in 2018. This book came out a good year and some change before the pandemic
Yeah.
started. So I find
Hmm.
that interesting, like
Yeah.
how what she
She
doesn't
know.
get right, I think in the story is just the sort of all the discourse that surrounds like the pen that surrounded the pandemic,
Yeah,
right?
like how do people in that book, like how do people react to the pandemic? Like, is there more
Well, at
concern?
first it's very nonchalant, and then it sort of starts to like she sort of starts to talk about how their the worry and stuff sort of starts to grow when they start to see like companies laying people off
Hmm.
or downsizing people. And then just like the effects that the fictional Shen fever has on
Hmm.
people, because it's a fungal based
Okay.
sickness, illness. So she does touch on that, but she doesn't go into too much detail about like the specifics of it. Like she doesn't talk about lockdowns or,
Okay.
6 foot policy or any of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know that she would have seen
No
any of that
masks,
coming.
no masks or anything. Talking
That's the biggest relation is the N95 mask.
about. Okay.
She does have her character sort of
I
wear
feel like,
one.
yeah, I feel like China and a lot of the Asian countries, like they've already worn masks like before the pandemic, because I guess that was like a cultural thing that the United States
That
like
was
didn't
something I used to
like.
laugh about when I would see that on Reddit.
Yeah.
And you'd see
Yeah.
people like pictures of people in other Asian countries
Masks.
wearing masks and
Yeah.
stuff. I'm
Whenever
like,
there's a
what are they
flu or
doing?
something.
But then the pandemic happened, and then you understand,
Yeah,
oh,
it
yeah,
makes
that makes
sense.
sense.
Especially, yeah, because like now since COVID and everything, like whenever I've gotten sick or anything like that, like I usually wear a mask when I'm in
You
public.
mask
No,
up. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But that's Severance for you.
Okay,
Wasn't
that's
a big
interesting,
fan.
but okay.
I'm glad that I'm choosing books that are relatively short because at least I don't have to like endure them for too long.
If you're not a
And
big fan of them, yeah,
I would say that this book and the last one that I talked about were good examples of like relatively short books
yeah,
that I didn't have to put too much of an investment in. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So
Well, Helgoland's pretty short too, so if you are interested, it's like 200
now
pages.
that
So
book I think I'll enjoy, and I don't
yeah,
normally read nonfiction,
yeah,
so
yeah. It's really
I think
good.
I'll enjoy
Like I
that one.
said, it's accessible, it's simple. A lot of background stories of famous scientists. So it's pretty good. Highly suggested.
All right, David. Well, that's awesome. We got to talk about 3 books today on this episode. Was there any other craft stuff you wanted to touch on today, or how are you feeling?
I think we're pretty good, right? Because we got our hour, so probably good for recording on that.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to promote anything besides your book, or do you want to just reiterate on your book again? Since
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, so everyone visit my channel, Baby Sagan channel on YouTube, and I got my Project Red Planet book available on Amazon for ebook or paperback out now. Go buy it, go review it. I need your support. It's awesome. It's hilarious. Adrian can attest to that. So
for
yeah.
sure. And but really quick, tell people about your channel. What is the theme of your channel, by the way?
Yeah, my channel, Baby Say, it's mostly a science channel. So I do a lot of fun science lectures on there. I do a lot of fun animations. I love working with transitions and fun animations. I make it very humorous, but I usually do like lectures. I usually pick like a topic like, oh, super scientists, or I'll do like planet caravan or something like that. I'll do like talk about a planet or something. But I pick a topic and I just talk about it at length for about 10 minutes or so. But I also do a lot of fun shorts too, and I sprinkle in a lot of like video games, pop culture references, movies, music, all that fun stuff. So it's been pretty fun for me. I'm gonna do some other fun shorts too. On the latest video I did, I'm actually gonna do a fun short with I'm gonna make a blooper reel. So that's gonna be a fun one. I'm gonna do fun bloopers with my next shorts. So that'll be fun.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I've seen your videos. I haven't watched all
Yeah.
of them, but
Yeah.
I do watch them as they pop up on my
Yeah.
feed, and you do have a very dynamic way of showing and talking about this stuff. I know that you do some tutoring on the side. Do you tutor science
Yeah.
stuff, or is it
I don't tutor science. I teach science at a school. I'm an
that's
assistant
cool?
teacher, but I tutor just reading and math for elementary kids, which I did today, by the way, in the morning. So did that.
You're
Yeah.
you're a busy man. You're a writer, a tutor, a
Yeah.
teacher. What don't you do?
I know. Yeah. I don't
Well,
drink beer. Yeah, that's what I
yeah.
do.
Awesome. Well, hey, that's great, David. Thanks for
Yeah.
for sharing that with us. And hey, stay tuned for our next episode because we are going to talk about the big book that we've spoken
The
about before. George Orwell's 1984. There's my copy. There's David's. Oh, I like your copy actually. That looks like a
old.
vintage copy.
It's very old,
Um,
very vintage.
there's a lot to talk about with this book, obviously, and then we'll definitely sink our teeth into that one
Yep.
on the
So,
next Book Brothers episode. So, yeah, great, David. I think we did it. Anything else you want to share before we sign off?
see you next time. Go science. Yeah.
Go science,
Yeah.
go science, and go check
Science.
out, yeah, check out Baby Sagan on YouTube,
Yeah.
and of course, check out this
Check
show's
out Adrian's channel
YouTube.
as well. Talk about
Yeah,
movies.
I'm
Maybe I'll show
on
up on that channel too at some point. Maybe
the
I'll
Never
invite.
Seen It podcast. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm
Yeah.
glad you bring it up.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
another show called the Never Seen It podcast, where we discuss movies. Usually, we're at least a movie that at least one person hasn't seen. Where you're like, "Ha, have you
Yeah.
not seen that movie?" Like, "Ha, have you not seen, for example, The Godfather?" You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we kind of get into that. It's a fun show, and check that out. Neverseenitpodcast.com. And we're on every podcast platform as well as YouTube. Find this show, the Book Brothers Podcast, on YouTube. We have this is going to be episode 9, so we're getting there. We're
Yeah.
slowly,
Building something here.
building something here. So yeah.
Yeah.